Femi and Kiki were the kind of couple people admired. To their neighbors, they were the epitome of success. Femi is a handsome, ambitious Nigerian man, and his beautiful, charming wife, Kiki, lit up every room she entered. They got married at a very young age. At first, the love between them was genuine, as Femi adored Kiki with a passion that seemed unwavering. But what started as affection soon transformed into something much darker, an obsession. Femi had always been the jealous type, but in the early days of their marriage, it was not obvious because it was subtle. He would gently tease Kiki about her male friends, often asking why she needed them when she had him. However, his teasing took on a more sinister tone over the years. Whenever Kiki mentioned an old friend, male or female, Femi would frown. He began to question her after every call, every message, and gradually, Kiki found herself cutting off friendships just to keep the peace in her home. One by one, her female friends stopped calling. They told her Femi made them uncomfortable, and his cold glares were enough to tell them that he doesn't want them around her. Kiki's male friends disappeared almost instantly. She wasn't even sure why they stopped reaching out, but she knew Femi's obsessive behavior had scared them away too. Isolated and lonely, Kiki accepted her fate, convincing herself that Femi's actions were just his way of showing love. 2 years into their marriage, Kiki became pregnant with their first child. When she shared the news with Femi, he was overjoyed, or so he thought. But as the months passed and Kiki's attention shifted to her growing belly, Femi's attitude changed. He became withdrawn and resentful, as if the baby were a rival for Kiki's affections. He no longer showed any joy when Kiki would talk excitedly about baby names or nursery plans. He would pretend like he was listening to music or sleeping whenever she starts talking about their baby. Sometimes he would leave the house for hours without explanation, and when he returns back, he would force a smile and pretend as if everything were normal. When their daughter was born, Kiki expected Femi to fall in love with her immediately. But instead, he barely looked at the baby. He seemed distant, and his only concern was getting Kiki's attention, which was now split between him and their newborn daughter. Kiki was too exhausted from sleepless nights and breastfeeding to notice how deep Femi's jealousy had become. On many occasions, Femi would complain to Kiki that he's not having enough rest because of the baby. She cries too much and I can't even have a good sleep. He complained one night when he suddenly woke up due to the baby's cry. Kiki brought the baby to the room and she cried more. Femi covered his ears with a pillow while Kiki attends to the baby. It's been 4 months since they had the baby and Kiki is surprised that her husband has not gotten used to having a baby around. When exactly will you get used to her baby's cries? It's been 4 months, you know. Kiki asked, surprised that her husband could still be covering his ears with a pillow. A few weeks passed and Femi began to pay more attention to the baby. Kiki would praise him for the good change and Femi would smile in return. He would praise Kiki for being a good mother to their child and he would buy her gifts to appreciate her. Unknown to her, Femi has a sinister plan. One afternoon, after a long day of caring for the baby and making her go to sleep, Kiki took a long, hot shower while the baby sleeps peacefully. She needed some rest too, but she took the shower first. Femi had been planning his next move for weeks, which was why he pretended to have changed towards the baby, because he doesn't want Kiki to suspect him when the baby goes missing. He had decided that the only way to restore balance and get back his wife's attention was to eliminate the baby. As Kiki showered, Femi quietly entered the nursery. The baby smiled but they didn't cry as Femi lifted her from the crib. He wrapped her in a blanket and hurried out of the house. He drove straight to a motherless baby's home on the outskirts of town, telling the staff there that his wife had died in childbirth and he was unable to care for the baby on his own. The staff were touched by his grief and they took the baby without asking too much questions. When Kiki came out of the bathroom, she walked into the nursery and found the crib empty. At first, she assumed Femi had taken the baby out for a walk, but when she called him, he told her that he has been at the office the entire day. I only went out for lunch and got back a few minutes ago. Are you sure that none of our neighbors came in to carry the baby? Femi asked, pretending to be concerned. Kiki began to panic. She searched the entire house, thinking maybe she had put the baby down somewhere else. But the baby was gone. Kiki went out of the house to ask her neighbors if they had seen a baby, but they were as shocked as she is. Femi returned 30 minutes later, acting as shocked and devastated as Kiki. He suggested that they call the police, which they did, but the investigation yielded no results. There was no sign of forceful entry, and Femi had crafted a perfect story that wouldn't make the police suspect him. Kiki was inconsolable. She cried for days and wondered why anyone would steal an innocent child to spite her. She thought a baby had been stolen without knowing that Femi had placed her in the care of strangers. Months passed and Kiki fell into a deep depression. She did everything to find the child, but she kept getting the same response from the police. We can't find her. A year later, she begged Femi to try for another child, believing that having another baby would heal the wound in her heart. Femi agreed, but secretly, he had no intention of letting Kiki have another child. He craved her attention, and he knew that a baby would only take her away from him again. He could not bear the thought of babies crying when Kiki should be caring for him or having sleepless nights. Kiki began to try for another child without knowing Femi's sinister plans. Femi has been poisoning Kiki's tea to prevent her from getting pregnant, and even if she does get pregnant, the poison will flush out the pregnancy. At first, the miscarriages seemed like tragic accidents. Kiki would wake up in the middle of the night with severe cramps, and by morning, the pregnancy would be gone. Femi was there to comfort her every time it happens, pretending to be just as heartbroken. But Kiki could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. She wondered if her body was failing her or if some invisible force was conspiring against her. After several miscarriages, Kiki became pregnant again, but this time she made a decision. She stopped drinking the tea Femi prepared for her each night, pretending to sip while secretly discarding it when he wasn't looking. Miraculously, the pregnancy progressed smoothly. Femi seemed frustrated by this but could not confront her without giving himself away. By the fifth month, Kiki's belly was round and firm, and Femi could no longer hide his displeasure. He would complain about anything and everything, but Kiki paid him no attention. When the baby was born, Femi suggested that they give the baby to his mother to raise. Kiki was horrified. How could he even suggest such a thing? She had already lost one child, and now he wanted her to give up another? Femi's suggestion made no sense, but the more Kiki thought about it, the more she realized that Femi's obsession wasn't about love. It was about control. She began to think that her suspicions were true. When Femi took Kiki and the baby to his mother 4 weeks after childbirth, he asked his mother to get used to caring for the baby because his wife would be resuming her job, and his mother agreed without asking questions. Kiki was surprised to hear this because he never discussed anything with her before they left home, but she played along and nodded in agreement as her mother-in-law played with her baby. As Femi was leaving, Kiki asked to walk him to his car. "What job are you talking about, Femi? We both know that I'll be resuming after 6 months because I work for the government. So what was that about?" Kiki asked, staring at Femi intensely, searching for answers. "Oh, that? Well, I told Mom that you took up a position in my company," he replied, scratching his head and avoiding Kiki's gaze. Kiki stood there, waiting for him to explain better. "Babe, I actually need someone at the accounts department, but I don't know how to discuss it with you, especially with the fact that you have to take care of our baby. But I know you'll be willing to work with me now that baby is with Mom, right?" Femi added, fondling her hands. Kiki's eyes widened in shock. She yanked her hands away from him. "I can't believe this. Why can't you look for someone else to take up that position? Why me? There are lots of people out there searching for jobs and I do not need any additional stress. You know how stressful my pregnancy was, and I need my much needed rest before resuming my duties at the office." "Haha, babe. Why would I want to stress you for no reason at all? I definitely understand that caring for a baby is taking its toll on you, but I have interviewed over 50 candidates for this position before I finally decided to bring you on board. Honey, I want you to know that I love you so much and will not hurt you in any way. Please consider taking this position, and I promise you I won't bother you with much work. Mama can take care of our baby, and we can always come and see her from time to time. Moreover, it would be a great avenue for you to take a break from all the stress of caring for a baby and the sleeplessness. You need rest, my love." Femi moved closer to her, stroking her hair. Kiki knew at this point that something wasn't right. In her head, She wondered how her husband would always complain whenever she asked baby. She also wondered why he always wants her to be around him at all times, which explains why he gets angry when she doesn't pick his calls when attending to the baby. As Kiki stood there, several thoughts ran through her mind. In the following days, she began to investigate, retracing the events of the past few years. The more she uncovered, the more she realized how deeply Femi had manipulated her. She recalled how he cared so much for her while they were dating. She remembered the friends she lost and how he made her sever ties with her siblings. Kiki stood in the middle of her room, hot tears streaming down her face. She has been blindfolded for many years, but now it was as though a mask has just been removed from her eyes. She thought about the several miscarriages and her first baby's disappearance, and she realized that it was all a web of lies designed to keep her under his control. Determined to escape, Kiki devised a plan. She accepted the job of an accountant and did the job perfectly. Kiki began to pay closer attention to Femi, and she began to see that a lot of things about him were not right. After the day's work, he would always insist that she wait for him. He never allowed her go home on her own, even though she has her own car. She recalled that before she gave birth, Femi would always be the one to pick her up at work. He has never for once allowed her to order a taxi since they got married. One day, Kiki was on her way home when Femi called her. She told him that a colleague had given her a ride home, but he asked her to get down from the car and wait for him. But Kiki hung up the call to prevent the colleague from hearing them argue. He called a minute later that it was close to where he asked her to get down, but she replied that she was already home. Femi was very mad at Kiki. He was angry with her for days for going against his rules. That week, he made sure that Kiki was transferred to a branch close to his workplace. And from that day, Kiki would go to his office after work and they would go home together. Kiki began to realize that Femi's relationship with her doesn't seem entirely right. He is clearly obsessed with her. One day, Kiki told Femi that her boss had organized a month-long work trip and that she would be leaving in a few days. Femi pretended to be happy for her, but secretly he called her boss. He told her boss that he would be coming with Kiki, but when she found out that he was coming, she wasn't surprised. She knew Femi would do anything to not let her out of his sight. She wanted to see how far he would go to have her all to himself. Undeterred, Kiki tried again. She told Femi she was going to visit her mother for a week, hoping to get some distance from him. She has not visited her mom in months because Femi always have 100 reasons for her not to visit. While she was pregnant, he told her not to visit any family members who may not wish her well. And when she gave birth, her mom stayed for 2 days because Femi asked her to tell her that they are going to his mother's place. But they only stayed for 2 days and then went back home. Femi only wants her mother out of the house. As expected, Femi objected to her visit to her mother, but this time, Kiki refused to back down. She told him that she would be spending a week with her mom. Femi did everything to make her change her mind, but his charm no longer worked on Kiki. So he insisted on coming with Kiki. At this point, Femi's paranoia and obsession were now impossible to ignore. Kiki finally realized that Femi was not just overprotective, he was also dangerous. Desperate for her mother's advice, Kiki confided in her, hoping for support, but to her surprise, her mother dismissed as concerns, insisting that Femi's behavior was simply an expression of his love. He loves you too much, that's all, her mother said. You are lucky to have a husband who cares so deeply. Or aren't you happy? Her mother added, staring at Kiki, looking for answers. Kiki knew her mother too well. She hardly interferes in relationships or gives advice that could jeopardize people's home. So no matter what she said about Femi, her mother would support him. Femi is very manipulative and he sure knows how to get people on his side. So Kiki knew she had to prove to her mother and to herself that Femi's love was anything but normal. The next day, Kiki invited a male colleague from work over for dinner, testing Femi's reaction. Surprisingly, Femi was warm and welcoming, even laughing at the man's jokes. But as the evening wore on, the colleague made a comment that felt like a sharp knife was used to cut Femi. Femi, you're lucky to have Kiki. If you weren't married to her, honestly, I would have been the lucky guy. Femi's smile froze, but he said nothing. Kiki's heart raced, sensing the danger lurking beneath his calm appearance. The next morning, Kiki received a call from a colleague. He had been suspended at work and wondered what he had done wrong. I have served the government diligently for 10 years. I have clean records and have never been rude to my superiors. So who could do this to me? His voice trembled as he spoke into his phone. Without a doubt, Kiki knew immediately that Femi was responsible. He asked people in high places. She left her mother's place and went back home. She confronted Femi, but as always, he denied everything. She told him that she knows about the miscarriages and how he was responsible for the missing baby. Femi was shocked at this point. He told Kiki that no one would believe her and he laughed maniacally. Kiki, knowing that he was right since she doesn't have any evidence against him, threatened to leave him. Femi turned cold when she said this. You won't survive without me, he said, his voice dripping with menace. He moved close to her and whispered to her ears, no one will believe you. Kiki could not believe her eyes. She was surprised that Femi was exactly who she thought he was. She collapsed on the chair, crying her eyes out. Femi sat at the dining table, drinking from a bottle of alcohol. He told Kiki that he loves her so much and no one would have her if he can't. He locked the door, collected a baby from her. He kept the baby in the crib and he began with Kiki. Tell me, Kiki, he said, stroking her hair gently. Is it a crime to love you? Why would you even think of leaving me? What have I ever done to you other than love you? Femi broke the bottle of beer on the towels and cut himself on the wrist and leg. He screamed as he tore Kiki's clothes, leaving her undies inside. He was also on phone telling someone to come help him. Kiki screamed in horror. She ran to her baby's room to get her baby and ran towards the door. She tried to open it but it was locked. She pleaded with Femi to let her and her baby go, but Femi kept screaming in pain and laughing maniacally. As Kiki banged the door and asked for help, Femi sat on the chair and put pressure on his wrists and legs. Moments later, the door swung open and three nurses took the baby from Kiki and took her away as she screamed. Femi told them that Kiki is very dangerous and should be kept under close watch, or she would kill someone like she tried to kill him. She cut my wrist with this bottle here after drinking the beer. I was lying on the couch when this happened. Femi explained calmly, painting Kemi as a guilty one. She has been dealing with some mental issues lately, but I've been an understanding husband. But she just snapped this afternoon. I was just lucky that she did not cut my neck. So be careful. He advised the doctor as he took the bail from my admission into the psychiatric home. Femi left the psychiatric home with his baby. He called Kiki's parents and explained how she suddenly started tearing her clothes and cutting with a bottle. Femi played the role so well that no one would believe that it was all lies. Together, they all went to the psychiatric home, but Kiki was fast asleep when they got there. By the time Kiki woke up, she kept staring into the air without saying a word. Kiki's mother knew something was not right. Her daughter has never shown any sign of mental illness, even when her first child was kidnapped. She began to think about Kiki's words the last time she came to her, and she knew something must have gone wrong. Kiki's mother stayed for days, but Kiki kept staring in the air, even when her mother showed her a baby. Femi also visited from time to time, bringing her food and acting like a caring husband. Kiki's mom suggested that they take Kiki to another hospital since her condition wasn't improving, but Femi insisted that she remain there. According to him, the hospital is closer to his workplace and can be easily accessible. Weeks later, Kiki's mom came with a doctor from another psychiatric home, whom she introduced to the hospital as her brother. Kiki's mom's plans was to help him check the injections and drugs being given to Kiki to see if they are the right ones. The doctor collected the injection from the nurse after struggling with her, and when he checked, it was a deadly injection meant to kill her slowly. They called the police and the hospital was locked down. Then Femi and the doctors were arrested. Kiki was quickly taken to another hospital where she received adequate care and she was finally back on her feet in a few weeks. Femi was imprisoned for attempted murder while Kiki got her life back. She divorced him, but not after she asked him where he kept her first daughter. Femi refused to say anything at first, but when his mother threatened to kill herself if he did not tell her, he gave her the address of the murdered baby's home. Kiki, now free from Femi's toxic love, got reunited with her first daughter and took great care of her two kids. Many people were shocked that Femi could be that cruel because of his looks. He was able to deceive his wife and the family for so long because of his charming looks and broad smiles. This story is an indication that not everything seems as it is, and a perfect relationship or marriage may not be so perfect as we think. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you think about this story. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.